What's going on, Goonies? Welcome back to another episode of the Matt Kohrs Show. And man, oh man, do we have a lot planned for you in today's show. We're going to be talking about three major things. Numero uno, the craziness of the market. More specifically, at least as I'm filming this, the crazy bullishness, the type of price action that is ripping the face off of bears. So we're going to be talking about that, but also the things you should be paying attention to this week. In terms of macroeconomic developments, we're getting inflation drops. And then in terms of politics, we have Congress meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried to discuss the FTX collapse. A lot going on there. I also want to give you a quick recap of what's going on in the Twitter files drop. We just got the 5th installment of that, and it has a lot to do with the previous President Trump and Twitter's decision. So we're going to be talking about there. And to wrap everything up, we're going to be talking about the insanity that is Elon's life. What's going on with Twitter, what's going on with him personally, what's going on with Tesla. So as you can see, we have a lot to get into. But before we discuss it all, if you do enjoy this type of content, it would be awesome if you could help me out with the algorithm by hitting the like button. And also, if you enjoy it and you want to be a Goonie, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button. Now, with that out of the way, let's rock. The closing stock market bell just went dingity ding ding dong for today, Monday, December 12th. And it was a pretty good day to be a bull. Dow closes more than 500 points higher to start the week as investors await Fed meeting, inflation data, and much, much more. But before we get into that, take a look at this. This is a heat map of the S&P 500, and it paid to be a bull today. I do want to note that is bucking the seasonal trend of today specifically, but hey, look at that green. Now, crypto, similar, kind of. There's some green, there's some red, and I want to talk about that in more detail. But first, you should know what to be on the lookout for this week. Before the market opens tomorrow, Tuesday, December 13th, we get the Consumer Price Index report. This is an inflation report, and it's basically telling you, as a consumer, how much have things elevated in cost. Right now, after polling all those fancy schmancy people with pedigrees on their wall, the median estimate is 7.3% for inflation. Now, what you need to know about this, once again, it comes out at 8:30 a.m. ET, an hour before the market opens. If this report comes in hot, as in higher than expected, that means we're not taking care of inflation, and most likely the market collective, market participants will look at this in terms of, okay, the Federal Reserve is going to have to be more hawkish because clearly what they're doing is not fighting inflation well. So they have to be more aggressive in their fight, which means they're more hawkish, which means that it might be favoring a more restrictive environment, which would push the market down. And then obviously vice versa. If we come in a little bit cool, that's going to be really good. And maybe the Fed's going to go from being so hawkish to maybe a little bit more dovish, which would probably push the market up. So what you need to know is if the report comes in hot, look for the market to go down. If the report comes in a little bit cool, look for the market to go up. I just want to put that on your radar because there is going to be a massive impact on the market when this report comes out. But this isn't the only important thing of the week to understand, to be paying attention to, is probably the best way to put it. On Tuesday, that's the start of the FOMC meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee meeting. This is where the Federal Reserve, led by the chairman, Jerome Powell, meet and they decide to do with what they want with the next Fed rate hike. So, of course, they're going to be looking at the CPI report as they're talking about it at the start of the meeting on Tuesday, and then it concludes on Wednesday at 2 p.m. is when the public gets the results. Most likely, we're going to get a 50 bips rate hike. But once again, if it's a little bit more aggressive, if it comes in at 75, which is not likely, look for the market to go down. If it comes in a little bit more dovish at 25 bips, look for the market to come up. But most likely, it will be 50 bips, which means that the market's real reaction is going to be far more dependent on what Jerome Powell and his cronies say in the press conference at 2:30 on Wednesday. Once again, this is all in East Coast stock market time. Then if we fast forward to Thursday, you're going to see that we get not only the initial jobless claims, we're going to get retail sales, and then that leads us into Friday, which is quadruple witching. For those of you who don't know what quadruple witching is, this happens 4 times a year, and it basically is a time where there's a lot of volatility because a lot of different options and futures contracts are all expiring, so it forces people to make decisions with their money. Are they going to continue long? Are they going to continue short? Are they going to continue at all? It's not necessarily associated with bullishness or bearishness. It's just associated with high levels of volatility. Now, I know you might be listening to this thinking, wow, that sounds like a pretty crazy week, but there's actually even more stuff going on. So we also know, unless you've been living under a rock, that there's been a lot of insanity in the world of crypto, specifically related to the FTX collapse. A lot of people calling it fraud, and I'm no lawyer. I don't speak legalese, but from what I'm seeing, it very much seems like it is fraud. Well, just earlier today, it is on the channel if you want to listen to it. Sam Bankman-Fried, the ex-CEO, the disgraced CEO, gave 2 separate interviews. At first, he was on a Twitter space call hosted by Unusual Whales. They did a great job. And then he was on Forbes. Those 2 interviews were on the stream from this morning, so feel free to check that out. But it was wild. The thing that really stands out to me, and I just find I find it humorous because of how angry it makes me, but you could hear typing on his keyboard throughout the Twitter space call. And then one of the speakers asked him, "What are you doing right now? Are you playing video games?" And Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy who clearly had a hand in billions of dollars being Thanos snapped into the ether, just disappearing, he's like, "Yeah, I'm playing video games." Just the disrespect. How wild is that? Now, if you happen to be in the ape community following AMC, Ape, GME, something like that, he also had some commentary on the tokens, the synthetic tokens and all of that. So definitely an interesting listen for all of you. I'll put the link in the description of this video. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about his interviews from this morning with Twitter space calls and then also Forbes is he's going to be talking with Congress very, very soon. As of Tuesday, the 13th, he will be talking with the House. And then people were asking him if he's going to be speaking with the Senate because the Senate Financial Committee, they made overtures of saying, yeah, we want to talk with you. He had this to say: Sam Bankman-Fried to skip testifying in person before Congress because he's quite overbooked. He said that on the Twitter space call this morning. So I don't know what's going on Wednesday. I don't know if he's speaking with the Senate or not, but just so you know, for Tuesday, he is doing a web conference with the House, and obviously I will be live streaming that if you have any interest. Right here, you can see I still do not have access to much of my data, professional or personal, so there's a limit to what I will be able to say, and I want to be as helpful as I'd like. But as the committee still thinks it would be useful, I'm willing to testify on the 13th. Now, I very much hope that Maxine Waters and the rest of the U.S. House Committee on Financial Services is able to ask some useful questions, but I'm not setting my optimism too high. Once again, I will be streaming this event with the House. I don't know what's going on with the Senate. As of now, Sam Bankman-Fried is allegedly overbooked, but we'll have to see how it all plays out. We do have a little bit of an indication, though, of how hardcore this might be against the disgraced CEO. Check this out. As we're heading into the first congressional meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried, we now have the testimony of Mr. John J. Ray III, who is the current CEO of FTX, and basically he's representing everyone that was involved in this debacle. This is a great read. I recommend that everyone reads the testimony, but I want to just highlight some of the parts because, hey, it's just absolutely that crazy. Some of the unacceptable management practices of the FTX group identified so far include, these are all kind of crazy, but check this out: the storing of certain private keys to access hundreds of millions of dollars in crypto assets without effectively securing controls or encryption. No security whatsoever. That's not good. The ability for Alameda, the crypto hedge fund within the FTX group, to borrow funds held at FTX.com to be utilized for its own trading or investments without any effective limits. This has been highly publicized, especially with the CoffeeZilla interviews of really pinning him down on whose money was what, why don't you have them tranched differently, a whole debacle. And then this one, the co-mingling of assets. The fact that Mr. John J. Ray III, I just like saying the whole name, is pointing out that they were commingling assets, to me, another way to like summarize those 4 words, it's to say fraud. To just call it what it is, the commingling of assets, bada bing, bada boom, case closed, fraud, fraud, fraud. That is not something that should be happening. That is not something that was found in a loophole of the terms of service. Not at all. Not whatsoever. The commingling of assets, I pray that the government dives into this aspect because to me, it is very, very damning. Now, on the note of crypto, just so you know, for posterity's sake, Bitcoin right around 17,000 and ETH just below 1,300 as I'm filming this. But also what's happening as I'm filming this is a lot of people are not being dissuaded from their crypto investments. 60% of Americans see crypto investing as highly risky, but millennials are still its biggest fans. So on this note, I would love your thoughts overall on crypto. And hey, while you're there anyway, let me know your thoughts on Sam Bankman-Fried and why he hasn't been put in handcuffs quite yet. Before we move on to the explosive revelations of the most recent Twitter files drop, a quick word from today's video sponsor. If you could give one holiday gift that could help the entire family avoid seasonal colds, flu, and even the Rona, that'd be the best gift ever, right? EnviroCleanse is the new science in home air purification, and they've just announced an unbelievable holiday sale you cannot afford to miss. Here's what sold me on EnviroCleanse, which is running in the room right next to me. The air circulating in my home from room to room, family member to family member, including holiday guests, is a breeding ground for viruses and germs. That's exactly how colds, flus, and even the Rona take down an entire family. EnviroCleanse advanced mineral technology kills microviruses, germs, and bacteria that other purifiers miss. That's why there are over 300,000 EnviroCleanse units in classrooms and why the Navy chose EnviroCleanse to scrub their air on board naval ships and subs. And with their healthy holiday sale and with fast, free shipping, you can give the gift of healthy holiday to your entire family. Visit ekpure.com and use the code MATT. That's ekpure.com with the code MATT, M-A-T-T. Shout out to EnviroCleanse. Us Goonies do appreciate your support, which brings us to the crazy thing that's happening in the world of Twitter and Twitter files that came out today. Barry Weiss, one of the journalists who has been getting access to all this Twitter information, gave us installment 5 of the Twitter files, and this all revolves around the removal of Trump from Twitter. Now, I don't want to bore you and read you every single line. I do think, just for all of us to be informed, you should read it all. I just want to kind of give you the highlights of everything that went down. This all obviously centers around him getting kicked off of Twitter, which really that is tied to the whole January 6th debacle. But what's so, I guess, amazing to me about all of this is what was happening internal at Twitter. So to set this up, as you're going through this Twitter thread, you're going to realize that there are a lot of world leaders who are on Twitter, did not get kicked off of Twitter, or maybe they just had like a tweet removed and they said absolutely horrific things. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because in reality, the TLDR version of what was going on here is more of Twitter employees simply didn't like him. They contorted the rules. It wasn't like there was a set of rules that was applied equally to the entire platform. It was more of they bent rules at their pleasure to the point that they kicked Trump off. That is the TLDR. But as I was alluding to before, when you read through this, you're going to see pretty absurd examples of people who were able to stay on Twitter because they were world leaders, even though they said pretty horrific things. Now, with former President Trump, it got to the point of them saying, well, what did he really mean with American patriots? Is he doing some sort of dog whistle here? And that's what they were fighting about internally. We can now see the internal conversations to the point that they admitted, well, he's not blatantly breaking any of our rules. And that's what I mean by they were trying to change it ever so slightly to be like, okay, they finally did. But before they even got there, they were kind of, once again, all internal Twitter employees were saying, well, we don't really like him, but we kind of want him off of here. And they had internal meetings and yada, yada, yada. And it didn't seem like it was going there. And then out of nowhere, we got this conversation between some of the very, very important people within Twitter who were basically saying internally employees were accusing other employees of, like, if they're able to stay there, they were calling them Nazis, which was just all so incredibly crazy. And then this eventually led to, basically, after there was an uprising internally, about a half hour after that, they were explaining to the employees, we're not kicking him off. He didn't clearly break one of our terms of service rules. And then obviously internally people were pissed off and they're like, well, you should kick him off anyway. And then basically a little bit of time after that, they ended up kicking him off. And then really what was kind of nuts about this is, if you continue to read it, they were explaining all the negative reactions from world leaders across the world and how this sets incredibly poor precedent. Now, I'm not here telling you that you should agree or disagree with what Trump did do or didn't do. That's not the point of this. This is more of talking about a big tech company who, if you agree with the rules or not, that's not the point. It's more of their own established rules were not being applied equally to all users on the platform. And that is a big, big problem. Now, obviously, I know this is a very hot topic. I know it's a very sensitive topic, so I am more than open to your criticism, and I would love to get your thoughts in a comment below. Now, you can't really talk about Twitter, the Twitter files drops, without talking about the current owner of Twitter, Mr. Elon Musk. He's had a pretty crazy weekend. I know that's an insane thing to say for one of the world's most wealthy people, but I'm saying more insane than normal. On a positive note, it does look like a lot of the bots on Twitter are gone. I'm not saying all of the bots are gone. That would be almost impossible. But it does seem like whatever changes they made in the back end successfully has gotten rid of a considerable amount of the Twitter bots. So, hey, that's a win. But not everything Elon did recently was a win. Elon Musk booed by crowd after Dave Chappelle brings him on stage at a comedy gig. Comedian Dave Chappelle brought Elon Musk on the stage during a gig at the Chase Center in San Francisco. I listened to the audio. I did. Some people said there was a lot of people booing. Other people said it was a small group right by the microphone. It's kind of up to you. It doesn't really matter. You could listen to it. I want to talk more about like his response to the whole situation. Technically, it was 90% cheers and 10% boos, except during quiet periods, but still, that's a lot of boos, which is a first for me in real life, frequent on Twitter. It's almost as if I've offended San Francisco's unhinged leftists, but nah. Now, I know that last sentence, some of you are going to be applauding that. And you could be like, hell yeah, brother, keep with it. And then others of you watching this are going to be like, I don't like that at all. Now, speaking to the latter group there, you're probably doubly as mad because that wasn't the only potentially upsetting thing you heard from Elon. Over the weekend, he tweeted this: my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. And then a little bit after that, because the tweet did blow up, he said, truth resonates. Now, I'm not telling you what way you should lean, what you should be believing, but man, oh man, did this just polarize so many people. A lot of people lining up in support of Elon saying, man, we love how you're using this platform. We love how you're using your voice. We love how, in their opinion, he's seeking truth and clarity. And then the other people basically absolutely hate him. Now, I don't want to tell you which is right or wrong. On the highest level of trolling, I appreciate that, but it kind of ends there because this is obviously a very, very serious issue. And I'm not saying that I'm some sort of scientist or biologist or lawyer, so not necessarily my place to speak. But what I want to talk about is Elon has clearly taken on a new role. Like, I can only imagine how many hours of his day is now spent doing this kind of stuff on Twitter, the companies that he's running, to the point that we're almost forgetting about his other company, Tesla, which has not been doing too well. Here's a look at Tesla. It dropped 6.3% today, which is not good, but it's really not good when you see the fact that the SPY gained almost 1.5% and the Nasdaq gained almost 1.3%. So overall, the market had a pretty good day and Tesla did the exact opposite. When you're bucking the trend like that, when you're extremely bearish, when the market's pretty bullish, that's no good. Tesla, for quite a while now, has just been going down and down and down. Lower highs, lower lows, clearly trending down, and we're kind of coming to a point where it really needs to bounce. I'm talking about roughly 165. In all reality, if that doesn't hold, I think it could be dropping into the 150s. Now, I'm not saying that as if I'm some sort of massive Tesla bear. I'm invested in Tesla for the long run, but if I were to do a shorter term trade, I think the odds are favoring the bears in this scenario. Why is Tesla not going with the overall market? That is a big question to answer. I mean, billions of dollars are lost from this company's market cap, and I don't think the situation is in any means being alleviated by what Elon is choosing to do, not only in his Twitter life, but also Twitter management. And there's so many things going on there, and that's exactly why we're getting recent conversations of, should he be the CEO of Tesla? What's happening there? What's going on with Twitter? There's a lot of uncertainty, and markets do not like uncertainty. That is a key thing to remember, not only when you're paying attention to Tesla as an investment, but really the overall market. Remember what I said in the start of this video? We have a lot of uncertainty. What's going on with inflation? What's going on with the FOMC meeting? What's going on with retail sales? What's going on with quadruple witching? What's going on with Congress and Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX? There's a lot of unknowns this week, which means expect volatility. Now, to wrap this last part up, I want your thoughts on the overall market, but more importantly, where are you guys at with Elon? Do you think he's going over the line with his interactions? Is he not spending too much time with the management of Twitter, the management of Tesla? Or are you just kicking back and enjoying the whole show with a bag of popcorn in front of you? Let me know. But if you want any extra information, such as the Sam Bankman-Fried interview, that's somewhere around here in the description of the video. Same thing if you're curious about quadruple witching, what that is, coming up this Friday. Once again, one of the links are right here or below. Post any of the questions that you have in a comment below. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one.